My name is Brennan Dowd. Welcome to PSTV. Let's take a look at the studio. Coming up in here, we have our two studios A and B with our control rooms on either side. We have master control over here. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Let's check out Studio A first. Welcome to Studio A. Our primary objectives here are usually news, weather, and some of our main programming as well. Over here we have the anchor desk for PS News. You'll notice it from our newscasts we do 4 times a week. Over on this side, we have the green screen wall for sports, weather, and entertainment news, which is some of the most interesting stuff we do here, I can tell you that. Usually, when we come in, we'll set everybody up with lavalier microphones, which are essentially small, clippable microphones that are very, very, very small and hard to see usually. On an issue, did you notice mine? There you go. Those clip in to a few wires that we have sitting down on the floor over here, and those go into our master control. Over on this side, we have our two Hitachi cameras that we use for Studio A. They are both set up with teleprompters on the front and even monitors so we can see what we're doing. If you look very closely, teleprompters, I'm not sure if you know this, they actually work by reversing what's happening on down here. So the television screen that's on the bottom is actually flipped. And then when it comes up here, it hits this, which essentially acts as a mirror and reflects it back to us so we can look at the camera while reading. It's pretty cool. Both of these cameras have them. We also have some other equipment going around, including these brand new LED lights that we've had set up about 1.5 years ago, I want to say. That makes this studio very bright, but also, more importantly, nice and cool. Let's go check out the PCR. If we come over here, this is PCR A. It naturally controls Studio A. PCR A. Up on the front, we have our two large television screens with a bunch of different options for things we can choose from. So if we come down here to our switcher board, this is where the technical director sits. And what the technical director does is their job is quite literally change the things you see. So the director tells them what to do following exactly what the script or their vision says. And we come down here, if we want to click over here in our graphics setting, let's change it over to camera 1. And then you see right up here, changes to camera 1 where we were just a few minutes ago. Pretty cool, right? There's all sorts of different options. We can even do things like setting up chroma key. So we have that background there on the green screen and a few other options, but primarily this is where we shoot news, which is a lot of fun. If we come on over here, the other things we can add to it are graphics. So if we want to put the graphics up, all we have to do is come in here, choose an option, and then it'll pop right up right where we want it. PS News has a specific set of graphics, so no matter how many times we go down, it will stay the same, and only the words will change. Makes us look nice and professional here, even on a college campus. This is where the director sits. Usually we'll have our script right in this computer so that we can just go right through everything, and it'll make nice sense to them, and they can give proper direction to all the crew. We don't want any confusion, and the director is in charge, so got to make sure they know what they're doing. Back over here, we have two positions, AD, which is technically referring to the assistant director. They sit here and they'll keep time of everything. They're more or less second in command. So when the AD is counting down the time, or if the AD notices something the director might miss, it's their responsibility to tell them. It makes things, having a hierarchy makes things useful more than anything else and leads to a little bit less confusion. Right next to them, we actually have our teleprompter. So what the teleprompter does is, you'd imagine, controls what we say and when we say it. So we have a specific dial down here that if you don't know how to use it, I wouldn't be surprised, it's relatively confusing. But you can turn this dial and the teleprompter starts moving. And you stop and it goes. You can also change the speed of it by working with this right here. It's very particular. So if you got to work your way up to getting it working very well. Let's check out the last position. Back over here we have our audio board. You can actually see some levels going through right now from a particularly handsome tour host. Those levels are coming through mic 1, which is actually set up in the studio on this way over here. We have all the way up to 6 mics. We can run audio through our computer right next to it. And then we have video players from a room we'll see in just a few minutes. Let's go check out the studio. This is Studio B. It's similar to Studio A in the sense that we have cameras and equipment and our talent goes there on a big stage. This one's just quite a bit larger. You'll see what I mean. As you can see, Studio B has a much larger space that we can work with here. We're actually right now on the set of The Search, a show produced by our manager, Will Holloway. If you're watching this, that means you can watch the first episode of The Search. I recommend going and checking it out. But if you come over here, you can see this big panel on the backside where we can control the lights. Up above you, you see this large structure that has all of the framing for the lights and hookups for 1 all the way up to 78. We can fit almost 80 lights in this room, which is a lot of power, to be frank. You come over here to this panel though, and we can turn on something big. So here, let's turn on number 8, the big soft box we have on the other side of the room. So we flick 8 on, and all of a sudden, there's a big light. Let's turn that back off so that we can continue the tour. If you come over here, you'll actually see this big blue and black curtain on the backside hides a big secret. We have the small green screen in the other studio as well. But right back here is our large wraparound green screen. We could make this studio into the Mojave Desert. We could turn it into the Arctic Circle. We could be at the bottom of the ocean. And that's the power that this green screen has. It's cool stuff. Let's put this back, not to disturb Will and his production in a little while. We have some large panels in here that we use for multiple different projects. I believe these were designed for Camden Splicers on the Spot, which is a really fun game show. They had their Halloween special filming just a few days ago. You come over here, you'll recognize some of these. These are the same exact cameras we use in Studio A. Teleprompter on the front, camera controls on the back side. So with these large structures, let's actually get into this for a moment. A lot of it is based on hydraulics. So these controls down here, you can just pull it up and the camera will go up and you push it back down, little to no effort at all. The fun thing about these, and we have a few different pedestals, these things below the cameras. We have a couple of different ones of them. This one is my personal favorite because if you look at the wheels right down here, you turn this dial right here and those wheels turn along with it. So it's kind of like driving a big truck with these wheels turning, and you can just move wherever you want with it. Over here you can actually see our broadcast service panel, which actually hooks everything from the studio into master control. You can see over here, these are the ties that go into the cameras. These are the ties that come from the cameras into the systems in there. And up here, this is where our microphones go. And now we're moving on to the CER. As I said before, this is the brain of the whole operation here at PSTV. Anything that we do that goes in or goes out comes through this large computer we have back here. And you can just see how complicated it is. Let's take a look. What you see over here is actually a series of I gotta say, somewhere between 10 and 15 computers. We have a DVD drive, we have a Blu-ray player, we have master control over here on the other side. If I press a button over there, we could go live to cable. That's a lot of power for a bunch of 20-year-olds. But in here we have a couple of different systems. One for a recording playback system we have here. This is called Jeeves. And if we come all the way over here, you can actually see Blackstorm, our main video output service that we have. So this is where all of our B-roll comes from. This is where all of our videos for packages or things like that come from for news and other projects. That's not all that the CER does, though. The CER is actually control of a few different things. When I say master control, this is master control. Look over here. Down here, it's very similar to some of the switchers you saw before. There's the utility, and then there's program and preview. If you put preview in, it won't change much. But if we change it over to PCRA for program, that is what's going to go out live to cable. Take a look right up here. This is actually a connection to our cable stream at all times. During the day, when we're not actually broadcasting anything out to our cable and YouTube channels, this is just running a slideshow, essentially, of information on PSTV, on the campus. It's kind of like a legal ID, if you know anything about radio. If you come on over here, we can actually take a look at one last thing. Down here, and this is a bit of an interesting new part to PSTV, this is our YouTube live stream. And what we have done here is this actually connects direct to that slideshow. What you can see here is an OBS software. And what this does is we've hooked it up to connect with the slideshow you were seeing before and master control in a sense, so that it will stream exactly what we're doing to cable out to YouTube as well. And that was the studio. We do all sorts of things here throughout the week, whether it's news, original programming, we have game shows, drama series, comedy-based shows. Everything that we do here is out of all of these systems. And we're an entirely student-run television station. So everything you see from all the way up at the top down to the newest crew member, we're all students here at Plattsburgh. Thank you very much for watching. This has been the Studio Tour, and this is PSTV.